for the cabinet. It's pretty simple, straightforward. I'm just ripping part of my plywood sheet down 4 inches all the way around, and then just to the right length. We're gonna cut them and assemble them. Well, I kind of cut part of that little bit off, but here's the box. Pretty simple box. And then you just gotta, for the middle supports, you just gotta decide what size compartments you want. I usually do about 8 to 9 inches from the top, and that'll leave enough clearance for whatever they want to put in the bottom. This is just dry fitting at the moment, and we'll come back, and once we know for sure what size we're going to make it, well, we already know that because we cut them. You want to make sure you know your measurements before you cut them. And we'll go ahead and glue and screw them. Then we'll take the back off, sand all the sides and everything down, and once the front's done, then we will put the front on, put the mechanism on, and then the back is the last thing I put on. That way I have access to get to it and be able to line everything up. So I do pocket holes on the back, and then where the cross members are on the inside, I do drill pilot holes and put wood screws in to secure it even more. When you have the frame in, just trace it so you know where you're drilling at. And countersink holes on the back, and then Craig's jig screws, pocket hole screws, any of them will work. That's how you secure it to the frame. I do it all from the outside, so in case there's ever any issue, once you get it off the wall, you'll be able to get inside of it. Also, I pre-drill the holes for the studs. It's 16 inches on center, so I got one here and one all the way over here, about 32 inches apart, top and bottom. Make sure you get into a stud or use really good anchors, otherwise it will fall. Alright, now after all the sanding is done, we're working on the burning part of it, the torching of the wood. As you can see, I already did the inside. Now I'm going to flip it over and do the outside. So I'm alternating every other stripe, and I'm going to torch behind where all the stars are at. So I just take my star template and line it up to where I'm going to be. And that's where I know where I'm going to make my whole box, torch behind there, and then just follow alternating stripes. Now you're going to take your time. This is where every flag is different, because no two flags will be the same with the torching. It all depends on how far away you hold it, also how fast you go, how slow you go, if you want clean lines, if you want kind of faded lines. So let's see what we got going. Also, as a small disclaimer, you are working with fire. Make sure nothing behind it is flammable. If you are able to do it inside, great. If not, I recommend doing it outside. I have a pretty good table that I can do it on, and it's not going to cause a fire. So use extreme caution when torching your flag and using an open flame. Alright, now that we got the torching done, we want to let it sit to cool off. It'll still be a little warm while you're doing the torching. Once everything's cooled down, then we'll put the template on, do the stars. Then from there, I like to attach it to the box. and then start applying the hardware. And then once all the hardware and everything's installed, then I'll do the clear coat, and then it'll be ready to be shipped out. It is dry after torching the wood. We're going to put the stars on. Use a star template. Make sure it's up the correct way up. I did do one where I put it upside down and I had to sand it all down, retorch everything. So once you get your template lined up, to avoid overspray from getting anything on the rest of it, I'll tape it down, keep it secure. And before you actually tape it, make sure it's still lined up, it didn't move. I'll tape it down so it stays in place. Then I'll just add a couple pieces of printer paper, construction paper, whatever you have. You can actually just remove the whole bottom half so it's out of the way. And then you don't have to worry about the bottom at all. All you have to do is worry about the sides. I like to wear gloves, otherwise I'll have paint on my hand for weeks on end. And for this one, I'm just going to use a rattle can. I like the Rust-Oleum one, it gives good quality. You can clear coat over it pretty good and it keeps everything in there. Make sure you shake it up good and well. Now when you're going at it, just make sure the middle doesn't raise up, otherwise you'll get it to run or bleed through. Taped over the corner of the star, so I'm just clearing that up. Now that it's dried a little bit, we'll go ahead and take the template off and see how it came out. When you're coming up, try to bring it straight up. Even though it's dry, when you go that way, you can still peel some of it off. I'm not gonna lie, that has to be one of my better ones. Came out really well. Only missing a little bit of this corner right here. As you can see, paint all over. But came out really well. You can use regular paint if you want. Now we're going to wait for that to fully dry before we even put it on the box or do a clear coat. Like I said, I like to assemble it together, put it on the box, put the hinges on. Then I'll come back and clear coat over that. And then have locking mechanism and all that installed. We'll see that just here in a second. I'm going to very quickly show you how I do the clear coating on it. It's a lot easier since I have a sprayer. I'm just going to use a sprayer. You can use a brush, whatever is convenient or easy for you. After a few seconds it will get really loud because the compressor will kick on. But you can see how I do the clear coating on them. I do quite a few coats, between 7 and 8. And that's just because I like it looks a lot better. Getting close to the end here. We're working on putting the shock on the inside and the lock on. I'm going to use an RFID lock on this one. The reason I have the back on, I'll show you in just a second, is because when you put the shock on, it it'll expand the boards. So I'll put a clamp on there just to keep it just tight enough to where it's just touching the back board, and leave it set. And remove the back board. Otherwise, without this support on there, it'll move a little bit. So I'll put the clamp on just to hold it in place so we get this mounted. Now I'm just using a strut 45 newtons I got off Amazon. And then we'll go ahead and put it in place. It doesn't matter what side you put them on, whether this side, that side. I always try to keep them all on the same. Alright, here we go. We got the shock, strut, whatever you want to call it, installed. And I don't have the lock on there, so it's still kind of pushing out a little bit. And we're just checking it to make sure it'll open up. And if it doesn't go up high enough, you can always just adjust the base down, bring that in until we get it till it opens up where we want it. Alright, now I'm going to put the lock on. The RFID lock I have comes in a base like that with a little clip on there. When you put the batteries in, it'll make an audible sound. If you put them in right. If you don't put them in right, you won't get nothing. And before I even secure it, I want to make sure it works. Make sure it operates good. And we're just gonna, again, put your shock, not your shock, your clamp on. Keep it in that place. And you're just going to line it up and screw it down. And then I'll put the back on here and I'll show opening it up. Alright, well that pretty much has everything put together. That's put the lock on, shock on. Now you just got to remember where you put the lock. That's good. And then if you look on the other video, I have the foam and routing the foam out. I'm not going to do it on this one because this one's already pretty long.